Gluing patio tiles to concrete isn't advisable. If it freezes, they're likely to come loose due to moisture underneath. We have an alternative. How we do this is shown in this episode.
Concrete doesn't let water through. A concrete slab is thus a non-permeable surface, unsuitable for gluing tiles. You can of course choose a wooden deck, but if you still want the convenience and appearance of tiles, or even natural stone, then you need to look for an alternative to glue them. That alternative is tile carriers. You lay it on the concrete surface. Then the tiles are placed on the tile carriers. We opt for tile carriers that you can adjust in height, so we can adjust it to the height of the concrete. You can adjust the height of the feet by screwing them in or out a bit more. In this case, placing a tile carrier on each corner suffices. For larger tiles or placement above 15 cm, an extra carrier in the middle is needed.
The tile carriers are adjustable in height. Which tile carriers you just choose depends on two things. The tile carrier plus the tile must of course remain under the blue stone. Secondly, measure the flatness of your surface so that you can also choose the right tile carrier there.
You can set tile carriers between a minimum and maximum height. If your concrete surface isn't always even, it's best to order tile carriers of 2-on-1 following heights, especially if the height you need to achieve under the door sill or window is closely approaching a minimum or maximum height. And besides tile carriers, you of course need the tiles that come on top. You can't just take any tiles for that.
If you want to lay tiles on a carrier, tile thickness is important. Whether it's natural or ceramic stone, the tile size, all matter. If you want to be sure your tile meets requirements, it's best to ask your supplier.
We choose a natural stone of 3 cm thick and a size of 40 by 40 cm for this. But that does not mean that every natural stone of that size is suitable for tile carriers. Start by assembling a number of tile carriers. You do that in a corner. Therefore, first check if it is square. Here it is not entirely like that. That's precisely why we choose to lay the tiles flush with the facade and then adjust the fence accordingly later on. You start in the corner. On the side, top plates on tile carriers ensure good support at corners. Then, carefully place the tile onto the designated area on the tile carrier, ensuring it is properly aligned. Between the exterior facade and the stones, we essentially leave an expansion joint of precisely 3 mm. You can maintain the distance with spacers. You can then adjust the tile by turning the tile carriers. We also place a tile at the same distance from the wall at the other end. We stretch a rope along these tiles. This way, we avoid the crooked line if the wall isn't straight. Then lay the first row of tiles along the reference line. Place them level, ensuring they are perfectly aligned in this specific direction. Follow the line you set out with the mason's cord, but make sure you always keep a 3 mm gap between the wall and the tile.
I placed the tile carrier near the wall for extra support, adding a top plate.
The top plate provides a larger bearing surface and thus better support. This prevents the tile from tipping over on the side. For work convenience, we lay a reference row in another direction. We don't lay it against the fence, as it's not right angled to the wall.
When laying out the breed, you let it slope away from the house. In this case, it's not needed since water escapes between our joints. But to ensure water runs off the tiles quickly, we still provide a slight slope away from the house.
Especially with large tiles, it is important that you provide a slope so that no puddles remain on the surface. This can of course be smooth. A slope of 1 to 2% is sufficient. To ensure that the reference row to the terrace is straight, it is best to lay 2 rows at the same time. This way, ensure it's right angled to the row against the wall. You can then continue laying the rest of the tiles. You continue to work on your reference rows. The tile carriers are equipped with spaces between the tiles. These maintain a distance of exactly 3 mm along all sides. This way, you get equal joints across your terrace. Sometimes you need to remove a tile piece, either on the edge or as here on the gutter. Measure and mark what to saw off. With an angle grinder, you can then remove the piece. First, make a cut on the line at the top of the tile. If the tile then breaks, there is a greater chance that it is along that line. Then saw the tile completely through. It's best to use a full diamond blade for natural stone tiles. After you have made the first cut, you can continue to cut the tile. You can't grind to the end. So, turn the tile over and grind it on the other side. You can break out the last piece. At an opening at the edge of the tile, it's best to try to support it a bit. You can do that by placing a tile carrier in the middle. If you only have full tiles to place, then working with tile carriers goes very smoothly. You just have to check if the tile is well placed and that it's supported at all 4 corners.
Because we work with natural stone, which isn't always dimensionally stable, you can see here there are rubber pads to fill everything out so it stands nicely equal.
You can tear off a corner of the pads so you can place them under a tile. This is how you ensure that the tiles are laid evenly. You can use pads to dampen walking sounds, handy when laying a roof terrace. You also ensure that the tile does not slide off the supports.
On this side too, we provide the last tile with a top plate. Because we are sitting here at the end of the terrace, we are also going to glue the bottom and the top to be sure.
When the tile carrier is glued to the substrate and to the tile, it no longer shifts. We do that with a specialized polymer glue. It securely adheres both to the surface, the tiles, and also to the plastic tile carriers. Also stay away from the edge until the glue is dry. Then continue laying the patio with the tiles. Finally, we place border stones at the edge of the terrace. We also maintain an expansion joint of 3 mm there. To keep the calibration cubes in place, we stick them with duct tape. We place the curbstones in stabiliser. Mix the stabilizer with the right amount of water. With a shovel in a tub, mix everything well. Apply stabilizer to the surface. Then tap edging stones in place with a rubber mallet. With edging in place, the terrace is ready. No need to grout it anymore. Spacers on tile carriers keep joints and tiles in place.
The tile carriers we have worked with here, you can not only use on our concrete base, you can also perfectly build a roof terrace with it. You see, it's achievable for all. Now we're going to enjoy. If you missed this episode, find it on our site, www.dobbit.be, and subscribe to our online magazine. As for me, I'd love seeing you at the next job.